Okay, we're starting now, Be'ez Hashem is Baruch, Shir number 7. And we're starting a new subject, perek Dalet. It's, I think it would be like maybe 3 recordings, maybe even 4. And I want to give an akdama. If you don't understand something, then you have 2 things. First, one thing is you should finish the whole recording, and then you should just listen to it again and again, because these things are not so easy, but you have to know this method that if you review something, every time you understand better. It's yisod in everything, in learning, and everything in life. Some people don't know this yisod and they just give up. You have to go repeat till you understand it every time better. I'll try my best to explain and to show diagrams as much as possible, but if you don't understand, either you pause the video and you think about it, or you continue to the end, or you repeat the whole video again. Okay, so let's start. So, the Rambam, even before I read the Rambam, I want to show some diagrams. Okay, we'll start with this diagram here. It's you see it's a certain way of the page, but you should I can't flip it, so you should imagine that it's flipped. You see Oretz, this is the earth. This is Yareach, this is the moon. So, this chapter in the Rambam focuses on the Mahalach Yareach. The moon is quite complicated. It has different motions, different things are happening, different speed things are happening, and Be'ez Hashem will cover the details. First of all, the Yareach, we all know, is very close to Earth, relatively speaking. So, in this diagram, we don't see the sun, we just see Oretz, Yareach. Now, you see here an arrow. What does this mean? It means that the Yareach, the way it works is, imagine there's a hinge here, a hinge. In Lashon Kodesh, it's called a tzir, like a door has a hinge. So, there's a small stick that's connected, imaginary stick, from Oretz to this point in space, that turns this direction, and we would call it clockwise. If you hold the paper the other way, you'll see it clockwise. Then there's another stick that's here, a longer stick, that's from this point to this point. So there's a hinge here, there's a hinge here. This one goes the opposite direction, it goes counterclockwise. You see the arrow goes counterclockwise. Now, the way it works, all these things were figured out by the Kadmonim through observation, and if it's, people are trying to know if it's by emes or not by emes, that does not matter right now. We just have to know what the Rambam is saying and how the Kadmonim figured out the different paths and the different motions of the moon. So they figured out something in order to understand why it's sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes close, sometimes. They had a lot of different questions, and that's what the conclusion they came to. That these are 2 sticks. One stick is here, and one stick, you can imagine it's an invisible stick, if you want, and but it can turn. So this stick is a long rod from Oretz till here in space. There's another rod connected from here to here. This rod turns this way, this one turns this way. So, during the month, both of these rods are turning, and this one turns faster than this one. So subtotal, the moon goes around the earth counterclockwise, because this turns, let's say, a little and this turns more, and the sum of these motions is that this yareich goes around the earth counterclockwise about 13 degrees a day. Okay. Next, let's see the next picture is this diagram. This happens every time it's Rosh Chodesh. It's called the Moiled Emtsoi, the mean conjunction. This is how the configuration is. It's a straight line. Aretz, this line is straight, and this line is also straight. You can say it's the furthest away. This Yareach, we call it Yareach Emtsoi, the mean moon. The Yareach Emtsoi is the furthest away from Earth, because these both rods are stretched out. The sun is where this arrow shows. The sun is far away in this direction, and that's what we know is the Moiled Emtsoi, because they're lined up. Earth, Yareach Emtsoi, Shemesh Emtsoi. All these three things are lined up. Now, what happens throughout the month? Let's take a look at this diagram here. Here is again Aretz. This rod, as we explained before, went a little bit this direction. That's clockwise. This rod, the big one, turned the other direction. The sum total of the motion, you see Aretz, and you're looking up to find this point. This point is the mean moon, the Yareich Emtsoi. It's an imaginary moon. That's, we call it now Yareich Emtsoi, because we'll soon see where the real moon is. This is just, imagine there's a moon here on the tip of this stick. So, as you see, it is a few degrees away from the sun. This is again the sun. The sun is far, far away this direction. Far away. You see, these arrows show the direction from Earth. If you want to find the sun, you go this direction. These arrows show the direction where you find the moon. So now this angle of this, you see right here, a small angle, this is how many degrees the moon is away from the sun. It's the merchak hayareach. How much and this is very, very important when you learn the different phases of the moon. It all depends how many degrees it is away from the sun. Now, as you realize, right now we're ignoring the stars because it's not important. It's just going to confuse you more. Right now we're only discussing the relationship of the moon and the sun. The sun moves a little and the moon. Right now, imagine we only have a sun and a moon, and we assume everything in relationship of how many degrees the moon or the mean moon is away from the sun. And as you can see here, it's true, the sun moved a little bit, the moon moved, but right now, since we're only interested in the relationship of the sun and of the moon towards the sun, so we keep the sun in one spot, and we just are focusing on how many degrees the moon is away. If you want to understand better, you can look at it. The sun goes 1 degree a day, and this goes 13 degrees, so it's be'erech 12 degrees 24 hours. This is just very roughly speaking, 12 degrees, 24-hour period. The mean moon went away from the mean sun. This is the mean sun, this is the mean moon, traveled 12 degrees. Okay, let's go. This is very introductory. Let's go to the next diagram. Here we show a little bit more details. Mahalach Emtsa Yareach is 13.1764 the moon goes, that's how many degrees he goes around the Galgal HaMazalas. But since the sun also goes, so Merchak HaYomi, it means a 24-hour period, the moon moves 12.19072 degrees in relationship to the sun. So during the Moiled, they're lined up. 24 hours later, if you take a look from Earth, let's take this diagram, the Earth directly to the sun. And then you want to take a look from the Earth to find this point. Here you can see better the picture. This rod goes clockwise, this goes counterclockwise, and here's the mean moon. So the angle of this angle here, Shemesh, Oretz, and this is every day 12 degrees. In this picture, I measured it should be, I want to make nicer numbers, so I made it 20 degrees. You can take a protractor and see that this Shemesh, Eretz, these arrows make an angle of 20 degrees. And if you figure out if each 24 hours it's 12 degrees, so it takes 1.64 days to travel 20 degrees. For me, it's more important to get equal number of degrees because it's easier to understand. So I wasn't so interested in getting the exact number of days. I wrote, this is a diagram where the merchak of the moon is 20 degrees, and it takes 1.64 yom after hapgisha shel shemesh ve'emtza yereich. It should be emtza shemesh emtza yereich. Next picture. Here is 30 degrees. Just the more pictures you have, the better you understand. This rod moves, and this rod moves. You see this rod. The total movements of this rod and this rod create an angle of Shemesh, Eretz, Emtza Yereich. This angle here, I'm showing with the cursor now. This angle is 30 degrees. It's 2.46 days. That's if you figure out 12 degrees per 24 hours. So 30 degrees is 2.46 days. Let's go one more diagram. It's very good to see how it's progressing throughout the month. Every month this happens. Every month. They start off straight, these two rods, and then, as I said, this small rod goes clockwise, this one goes counterclockwise. Here, and after 3.28 days, Shemesh, Oretz, Yereich, this angle here is a 40 degree angle. Now people can get confused there. I'm going to say it now, I'm going to say it a few times again later. What we're interested for us is only this angle. The angle that, as I'm showing now with the cursor, Shemesh, Eretz, this. This angle, how much this goes and how much this goes, is totally not interesting for us. It can be calculated mathematically, but the point is that Hashem made that should, these both movements, this moves a certain amount of degrees, and this moves the opposite direction to counter that movement. Together, they create a sun movement of 12 point whatever degrees a day, as viewed from Earth. It sounds like magic because it's not uniform. This, you have to understand this. But this is what ends up happening, that Shemesh, Eretz, and this angle, that's how much per day they go 12 degrees. They have to make up, as you say, by hook or by crook. These two rods, sometimes they have to move more, sometimes less. With their movements, they have to make sure, let's speak in such a figurative way, they have to make sure that after 24 hours, the angle of Shemesh, Eretz, Yereich has increased 12 point, whatever we had before, 12.1 degrees. So I'm going to stop here. If you didn't understand it fully, please review it. And I'm going to go to the next video. I'm going to continue more pictures.